Good day to all. Hoping everyone is well and staying safe in these hard times the world has faced over the recent few months. I would like to thank Anaplan for this opportunity. I would also like to thank my fellow speakers for sharing their insightful experiences. And more importantly, I would like to thank the audience for showing. Global supply chains have been vastly affected during the ongoing pandemic and the resulting lockdowns. But were we void of disruptions before the pandemic? Scale and effects of the disruptions have been varied in the pre-pandemic era, but they were as much a hurdle to our planning processes as they are now. The unprecedented global impact of the pandemic has only brought to light the shortcomings of our planning processes and the absence of a sustainable and resilient supply chain design. We will look at supply chain design in just a bit. First, let's look at how and when and what sorts of disruptions affect our supply chains. Disruptions are primarily of two types: creative or utility driven disruptions, such as digital transformation, organizational structure overhaul, changes in supply chain design, reskilling or relearning processes, etc. The second one is chaos driven disruptions, such as natural calamities, terrorism, epidemics, national shutdowns, armed conflicts, or even consequences of unconventional warfare. The creative or the utility driven disruptions are often deliberate initiatives and are internally planned for. But chaos driven disruptions are disruptions caused entirely due to external sources and are not accounted for in our planning processes. What do we do then? Plan for shorter periods in disruptions? Probably, or at least that's what we've been doing. On the other hand, what if we just designed an agile, reliable, secured, responsible, resilient, and more importantly, a sustainable supply chain? Today, I'll be focusing on decision making for crisis mitigation and management in the context of supply chain design. Decision making is not an art or a calculated science as we usually refer to it as. Decision making is a truly interdisciplinary subject where subjects from social, physical, and technical sciences intersect. Every right decision might not culminate into the expected outcome, but at least it is a step towards it. To make effective decisions in face of unprecedented uncertainty, leaders need to institutionalize strategic foresight, harnessing the power of imagination to build a dynamic design that links planning, strategy, and operations. Managing the uncertainty of the future needs many tools, some of which may seem to have similar or overlapping functions. Backcasting in the present, contingency planning, crisis simulation, accurate and good quality forecasting, horizon scanning, scenario planning, trend analysis, and war games or stress tests are some of the useful tools that help us navigate through complexities of not only the VUCA times, but also normal, or rather the new normal as they call it now. So why do I advocate for supply chain design as a tool for problem solving? Because the design is a blueprint or a map, or even better, it is a set of yes or no decisions that we make for our businesses. Do we focus on agility, or do we use planning more effectively? Do we use a push supply chain or a pull supply chain strategy? Are we a customer centric or a cost centric supply chain? Is the supply chain aligned to the market and product segments? Is the supply chain transparent enough with clear end to end visibility? Are the supply chain people being able to interact seamlessly and collaborate with the other functions to deliver desired results? Similar questions need to be asked around disruption phases of supply chains to help better design a supply chain to navigate these very disruption phases. We all lie when we say we didn't see a pandemic coming. Let's not forget just the scale and timing of it has taken us by shock. So why wasn't the supply chain designed for the large scale pandemic? Why did we have so many supply disruptions during the periods of lockdown? The answers are deep rooted in our supply chain design, and these questions need to be answered to check our supply chain design readiness. I would like to reiterate that you can't plan for disruptions, but disruptions in supply chains are plenty. We can although map our disruptions, learn from their history, and design supply chains to reimagine, recreate, and reoperationalize a seamless supply chain through acceleration of digital transformation. Complexity in a supply chain is very high. This complexity is further compounded in disruption phases. To deal with such complexity, we need a cross-disciplinary approach in our supply chain design, because in phases of disruptions, we need to have complete knowledge of the what, how, why, and when can a disruption in our supply chain take place, and how we can mitigate or manage risks by understanding if the disruption is accounted for in our supply chain design. Another reason why we need the cross-disciplinary focus in our supply chain thinking, apart from during disruption phases, is in normal times, supply chain design could enable us to better create and monitor our supply chain through a digital twin. Digital acceleration has taken place post the pandemic, and come post pandemic phase, visibility would be plenty, and so will be the data recorded through the said visibility. We will need cross-disciplinary approaches to the interpretation of the data and driving value-based insights and inferences, and also most importantly, decisions. This does not mean you let data dictate the terms in your decisions, but you use it in the right way to arrive at a decision. There are several decisions that we need to act on when it comes to designing a supply chain. Sustainability, geopolitics, geography, bionicity, and consumer behavior are some of the broader subjects apart from supply chain and operations that we need to account for in our supply chain design. Incorporating sustainability in our supply chain design is one of the most important value driving decisions we can make by far. Sustainability was never only about saving the planet. It is so much more than that. Sustainability is more about being able to survive given the limited resources we possess and insatiable ends we need to meet, may it be for a person, a supply chain, a business, or even the economy. Many multinational corporations sincerely want to embed sustainability, responsibility, and stewardship throughout their supply networks, but all corporations aren't doing enough, whereas they can and should definitely do more. They should send their supplier networks a stringent and more consistent message that people, planet, and profits all lie at the heart of a sustainable business. Procurement officials should take a hands-on approach to diversifying risks by collecting data about suppliers and their capacity, monitoring indicators of their sustainability performance, and engaging with them in continuous improvement projects. Businesses should also work directly with the suppliers' procurement units on the best ways to disseminate sustainability requirements throughout the supply networks. The danger of not acting is clear. Geopolitics and geography of the supply chain is another field your supply chain design should account for, given the global nature of our supply chains. Supply chain geopolitical risk is the possibility that your supply chain is disrupted by global political events. The most obvious and high profile are wars and revolutions, but even the less dramatic ones can cause serious consequences for our businesses. Recent events and this particular pandemic have only been warning signs for our supply chains. The US China trade war, tensions on both sides of the Indian border, Chinese interventions in sovereign matters of countries on its eastern border, the Korean threat, and all are just proof that the incidence rate of disruptions is only going to increase further. From the geography point of view, we also need to consider a host of other disruptions in form of natural calamities such as tsunamis, cyclones, hurricanes, landslides, etc. that disrupt our supply chain operations adversely. Moving on, bionicity of the supply chain, or in simple terms, the integration compatibility between your people and technology, is one of the main reasons of successes in digital transformation. Bionicity is integral to a successful supply chain design today, but evidently no firm globally has been able to achieve true bionicity due to a host of reasons, such as low technology adoption, inadequate people capabilities, and also low integrability of technology with the people. We all have to meet halfway over here. Organizations need to reskill people, and technology companies need to build people friendly technologies which help derive maximum output gain from the available resources. The last but not the least of many considerations is consumer behavior. Consumer choices are driving supply chains more now than ever before. The supply chain industry could be said to be going through a revolution of consumerism. Providing the best possible customer service at the best possible cost is important for businesses to survive in this day and age. We need to understand for a business, customer satisfaction is of utmost importance. So it is important to provide the customer the best service in your market segment while optimizing the cost of maximizing customer satisfaction. Costs need not be reduced but optimized unless your product is the low cost alternative to the market leaders. Further, I would like to focus on some challenges in cross functional and partner collaboration. Interfunctional coordination in most firms is non existent beyond the bare minimum requirement. Even after clear benefits the collaboration decisions can drive, they are not taken up in the board or senior management meetings. This dissuades people who want to effectively collaborate to further efficiency in the organization. Second, partner tier problems are plenty highlighted in the past. Compliance requirements of your partner's partner and even his partner in the entire chain are varied, and this creates a gap between the organization and the partner. They be your suppliers or partners in manufacturing, logistics, digital transformation, etc. Another key hurdle to build a connected supply chain is the low adoption of technology by partners and thus lesser visibility in the end to end supply chain. These are only some of the key issues. On the ground, there are plenty more. Nevertheless, collaboration could be a part of organizational culture, or in the absence of a culture to collaborate, it could be substituted by digitalization to increase visibility and transparency within the organization. Lack of collaboration culture is one of the primary reasons why digital acceleration is happening more rapidly than ever before. To conclude, I would like to point out that the COVID threat was just another warning to global supply chains and humanity at large. It not only exposed fragility in our systems, but human nature at large lies bare. We need to constantly innovate and collaborate to build anti-fragile systems because in face of disruption lies the real opportunity to gain competitive advantage through strategy and design. How to get started? Invite the right set of people to participate, identify assumptions, drivers, uncertainties, risks, and floaters. Imagine plausible but dramatically different futures. Inhabit those futures. Isolate strategies that will help you navigate the multiple possible futures and ingrain the process. Thank you.